Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, Minot eshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yanachaleni, Nafshi shovev, Yanacheni v'magle tzedek lema'an shemo, Gam ki chelech v'geitz al mavet, Lo yirara ki ata imadi, Shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lifanai shulchan neged tzorirai. Dishanta vashemen roshi kosiri vaya ach tov chesed yirdifuni kol yamei chayai v'shaveti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. I've chanted for you the words of our 23rd Psalm. When we are faced with difficult moments and heartbreak, we often turn to the psalmist, seeking comfort and strength. And so I ask you now at this time to recite these words with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In the rising of the sun and in its going down we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter we will remember her. In the opening buds and the rebirth of spring we will remember her. In the blueness of sky and in the warmth of summer we will remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember her. And when we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us, as we remember Edith Piccus. To you, Phil, to her sons, Scott and Brett, and also to Helen and Sarah, to her grandchildren, Cordero and Caitlin, and to her brothers, Don and Harvey, her sister-in-law, Catherine, and her sister-in-law and brother-in-law, Sue and Alan, and to all the members of the family and to so many dear and cherished friends. We have come together today to remember, but also to celebrate the life of your beloved Edie. Our sages in their wisdom have taught us that birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and from grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not in some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. Edie's journey began right here in Cleveland. She entered into this world in 1945 and was the youngest of 3 children born to Ben and Rhoda Jacobson. The Jacobson family lived in the Glenville neighborhood, and Edie and her brothers, Don, who is here with us today, and also Harvey, they grew up enjoying a happy childhood. Tragedy struck Edie and her family when her father, Ben, died, and at the time of his passing, Edie was only 10 years old, and of course, this deeply impacted Edie and her family. But Edie would still recall throughout her lifetime sweet childhood memories, memories of growing up around 123rd Street, the stores, the neighborhood shul, Saywell Drugs for her favorite chocolate phosphate, Solomon's Deli, and going to the Keith Theater with her mom to see movies, which were usually followed up by a visit to the Tasty Shop. Edie was a good student. She loved to read and was a lifelong reader. And along her journey, Edie collected wonderful and precious friends, and I know many of you are here today. Friends who go all the way back to Chesterfield Elementary School and Patrick Henry Junior High and John Hay High School. And here at John Hay, Edie's focus was centered on clerical and secretarial skills. She was a hard worker in and out of the classroom. From the time she was 15 years old, she was working in order to help the family make ends meet. And as a teen, she worked part-time for a law firm. And somehow Edie seemed to master balancing everything: school, her job, and even a social life. Edie, I'm told, was beautiful inside and out. A 17-year-old beauty when she met 21-year-old Phil Piccus. A group of friends, I'm told, were gathering at the Eastgate Coliseum for an indoor swim party. And Phil, you described to me the first time you and Edie met. You were a little bit smitten, and simply put, Phil, Edie met you, and she did not like you. And not too long after that, Phil, you told me that there was yet another gathering of friends, and this time it was at a beach in Cleveland, and you had another opportunity to impress the beautiful Edie. And this time, she still didn't like you. But finally, Phil, she agreed to go out on a first date, and a courtship ensued. Edie grew to like you, and then to love you. And Phil, you gave her your high school ring. And this love began to blossom, and following a 2-year courtship, you and Edie were married. And Phil, the wedding occurred just 2 days after your graduation from Dyke College. Rabbi Rube officiated the ceremony, and it was held at the Riviera Country Club. Phil, in your more than 53 years of married life together, you and Edie formed a bond. And this bond allowed you to build a life together, and it was based on the foundation of love, respect, and trust. You know, in the Jewish wedding ceremony, we have this moment, Phil. I'll remind you, it's been a little while since you and Edie stood under that beautiful chuppah, but there's this moment called the Sheva Brachot, the 7 wedding blessings. And in these 7 blessings, the bride and groom are referred to as Re'im Ahuvim, loving partners. And the stories that you shared with me, Phil, it certainly sounds like the two of you were just that, Re'im Ahuvim. I know that the years spent with your beloved Edie included wonderful times and a lot of fun. You told me that together you enjoyed going fishing, and impressed that she was a gal who could bait her own hooks. You went dancing every week. Saturday evenings at Rocky's were a place where you and Edie were the king and queen of the dance floor. Together you bowled on a couples club league, and you enjoyed wonderful friends and the two of you loved to entertain at your home, whether it was for friends or family or coworkers. It seems that your house was the place to be. You were blessed with opportunities to travel the world. You and Edie visited Italy and Israel, England and France and Mexico, and then there were cruises. And then with your own children, the annual vacation to Pymatuning in Pennsylvania. And there were the bus trips the two of you took to Mount Rushmore, Nashville, Branson, Missouri, Philadelphia, Memphis, the list goes on. And you also loved attending Playhouse Square's Broadway series and the Encore Senior Adult Learning Program. All these things, Phil, you did together, on top of which you put your efforts, your love, and your time and energy into raising a beautiful and very special family. You said to me, I'm quoting you, Phil, you said, "We were a match made in heaven. We were very fortunate." You said of your beloved Edie that she was always smiling. You said that she loved people and she was so outgoing. You also said that if a Jewish woman could be made a saint, she would have been a saint. Edie had her own special personal touch that she sprinkled over everything that she did. Not only did she collect her friends lovingly, she also collected stuffed animals. Many of them, each of them having their own special place in the bedroom and their own special name. And she loved to sprinkle her little special touch in creating beautiful cards for everyone, for every occasion. She handmade birthday cards and get-well cards. She was a wonderful illustrator. These are family treasures, these little cards. She adored her sons. She adored her daughters-in-law, which I'm sure she dropped the term in-law, for you were daughters to her. And she adored her grandchildren, her granddaughter Caitlin, who lives out of state and was not able to be with us today, and her grandson Cordero, who is here with us today. Cordero, you told me that you and your grandma Edie shared a special bond. You described her as very loving. And you also said any time that you needed something, she was there for you. She encouraged you. She'd tell you all the time, you should be a model. But she'd remind you with that loving manner, she'd always tell you, I'm your biggest fan. And you know what, Cordero? She was and will always remain your biggest fan. Throughout her married life, Edie worked part-time for attorneys and doctors. She was managing the offices and doing clerical work, but it was that 15 years where she ran a daycare from her home that meant so much to her. She loved this. She loved it deeply. And she had a positive impact on the children she cared for. And over the years, these children grew up, and they would come back and visit with Edie. That's how much they cared for her. There was also a 2-year period where Edie worked as a home health care aide and companion, and she helped and changed the lives of people through that as well. Edie was active with the B'nai B'rith women and with the Hebrew Benevolent Association. She volunteered for over 14 years at Menorah Park, where Edie would visit residents. When I asked the family what was her job, did she work in the snack shop? Did she deliver flowers that might come to the building? Nope, her job was just visiting people. And that's because Edie loved people, and people loved her. She would go to the residents' rooms, she would go to the dining room, and Edie knew every single person's name. So Phil, as you mentioned to me that you thought Edie could have qualified for becoming a saint because of all the good deeds that she did, because of her kind and giving heart, I will just add to that by saying that we have this beautiful expression in Yiddish. When somebody is that kind and that giving, we refer to them as a gute neshama. And this was Edie. She was simply a good soul to the core. That was Edie. And our tradition also teaches us that words which come from the heart enter directly to the heart. Some of the family members have words in their hearts that they want to share with all of us today. So first I'd like to call on Edie's son and daughter-in-law, Scott and Helen.
person. She touched everybody's life. Hundreds, maybe thousands of lives she's touched. She was sweet, caring, loving. Everybody loved her, and she loved everybody. Best thing that ever happened to me. First woman I ever loved. The first woman that ever loved me. Her last good day, which I consider her last good day, was at Manora Park while she was rehabbing from surgery. We were all at the piazza listening to music, and the musician was on the acoustic guitar, and he played Yesterday by the Beatles. And it was me, my mother, my father, my brother. We were sitting there, and once they started playing it, she grabbed my hand and she started singing it. Sang the whole thing. Her voice was weak, shaky, but it was the most beautiful rendition of Yesterday I've ever heard. And I don't know the words. I'm sorry. I've been practicing and everything, so I'm going to pull the phone out because that's what we do these days. And I'm going to sing a quick rendition of this, and then I'll let my brother and my father and them speak, if I can find this. And this is the song she said to me as she grabbed my hand. She held my hand the whole time and smiled and looked at me. I gotta find it. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. I can't sing. I don't have a prowess for singing. I don't have faith in my voice, so I'll do the best I can. Yesterday, all my troubles seemed so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow coming over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. Yesterday. Love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call on her son and daughter-in-law, Brett and Sarah.
Edie, you were the best mother-in-law anyone could ever ask for. You were kind, fun, friendly, and caring. Brett and I would come over every week to have dinner with you and Phil. After enjoying your home-cooked delicious meals, we would watch Jeopardy, although by the time you joined us, it was Final Jeopardy. Then we would play a game. In the occasional times when you were in last place, you would lower your head and look so sad. I knew you were kidding around, though, because you always played the game for fun. You didn't care if you won or lost. But you looked so sad. So I would lean over and tell you, I love you, Edie. And you always say, I love you too, sweetie. If only I let Brett talk me into joining you guys in Pymatuning a year or two earlier, I could have enjoyed 2 more years of the precious time we had in Pymatuning. It was a lot of fun, my favorite week of the year. Even though that was the only week I went fishing, you were really impressed with my casting. I also want to say thank you for putting the worms on my hook and taking the fish off. Yes, I'm the reason why Phil had to say that in his speech about being the woman to hook her own fish. Instead of pondering on why God had to take you away from us so soon, I'm going to remember you and picture you happy in heaven, cancer-free, pain-free, and wondering to myself that if you ever come across a stranger, you would be saying, "Go Cavs." I love you, Edie, always and forever.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And my mother was a great woman. She would do anything for anybody. I mean, without expecting anything in return. And she would also, when I was with her, especially at Menorah Park, for the bagel brunches, she would stop and say hi to anyone at every table. I mean, she would, whether she really knew them well or not. So she never had an unkind word to say about anyone. She was a great role model for my brother Scott and me, and I'm quite sure I wouldn't be where I am today without her. She also did a lot to shape the early lives of all the children she took care of over 15 years. I appreciated all she did for us over the years. She helped me with schoolwork a lot. She would come and volunteer for both my brother and me when we were in elementary school. She would give my friends and I rides to school. Mom was always there if you needed to talk. She would call to talk with me at least once a week. I looked forward to dinners with her and my dad every week, as well as lunches most Saturdays. She shared our love of sports, even if I wasn't always patient when she asked me questions. My dad and brother can attest to that. Another thing we shared is a love of music. She loved listening to music. She loved singing. She was big into big bands, Sinatra, the Beatles, and Motown, among others. She also helped me and my brother make a list of numerous old songs, all passed down from our old mother. I have this list that we started last summer. We came up with over 200 songs, and I mean, when I would ask her how does a song go, she would start singing. She knew like every word, and she remembered all these old songs. I'll always remember these with her. I mean, I'll have a lot of fond memories of her throughout the years, growing up and becoming an adult and sharing her with Sarah. Now I'd like to sing a little bit of a song. It's for you, Mom. This also comes from the Beatles. I'm gonna just change a couple of the words. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Edie comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Thank you.
If I could please invite her brother Don to come forward.
First, I'd like to thank you all for coming. Cantor Kathy's moving words express our love and admiration for Edie. My son Jonathan said that his Aunt Edie was the nicest person he ever knew. And I believe many of you feel the same way. Although we lived far apart, we were connected by a bond of love and shared memories. Yeah. I'm sorry, what? They can hear you. Okay. Oh, without the mic? No, okay. Shared memories of a happy childhood. which we reminisced about weekly. Her absence will leave a hole in all of our lives. Thank you.
Our last member of the family who wants to say a little something to all of you is her beloved husband, Phil.
A little bit of good news for you all. The family will not be on America's Got Talent in the fall, so don't worry about that. I do have a few thoughts of my for Edie, and I'll express them the best way I know how to. To know her was to love her. Just to see her smile made our hearts worthwhile. To know, to love her was to know and love her. And we do. She brought love to me. She brought love to Scott, and yet just to raise the kids was her life's ambition. To know her is to love her, and we do. Why couldn't the world see how sweet she wanted it to be? Someday she'll look down on the world and see how great America is. And so to know her is to love her. And I do, and I will always. With one final thought, as Al Martino said in one of his songs, she's not Daddy's little girl, but she's Phil's little girl.
When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not too long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey that we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all a part of the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we knew and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. We take a moment of silence as we offer our prayer, the eulogy in our heart. And we ask God to accept Edie's soul as we rise for the memorial prayer, El Molewat Rachamim. El Mole Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfech HaShechina, B'malot Kedoshim Utorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Yehudit Bat Benjamin Verachel, Shel Halcha Le'olama Began Eden Techei Menuchata, Ana B'Rachamim Astirechu, בסתר כנפך לעולמים, ותתרוד בתרוד החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. O merciful God, who dwells on high, who is full of compassion, grant perfect rest beneath the shelter of your divine presence among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament. To our dear departed Edith Piccus, to Edie, who has gone now to her eternal home, may her soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life, and grant that her memory inspire all of us to noble and consecrated living, and to this we say, Amen. Friends, please be seated. Our service of memory will continue at the Mount Olive Cemetery, and following the interment, the family will receive visitors at the residence at 5539 Roy Road in Highland Heights. Visitation will be today until 4 p.m., also on Sunday and Monday from 2 p.m. until 9 in the evening. Friends who wish to make a contribution in memory of Edie, the family has suggested you might consider either the Hospice of the Western Reserve or the American Cancer Association. On behalf of Phil and the entire family, we thank you for your love and your support on this important and sad day.